Black people cannot determine their destinies merely through the vote, via patronizing stands of a rainbow nation. He said, once that can only happen, I will quote, the quality of leadership is very important in imaging a central democracy. I believe, ladies and gentlemen, this PAC and the country is poor today largely because it lacks the leaders of Sobukwe caliber. The quality of his personality, the shining example of his moral leadership, and height of his intellectual development were so outstanding. But the manner in which we choose leaders and who we choose as our leaders in the PAC is very important. For the future we want to have, not only for ourselves, but also our children. We need leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice. Because that money is the one that divides the PAC today when we speak. If I have the money, I can go and shop and buy 10,000 t-shirts and come and give you, so you follow me because I give you t-shirts. That is not the PAC philosophy and ideology. We need leaders not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity. We need leaders who can subject his or her particular egos to the greatness of the cause of the Pan-Africanist ideology.
Uncle Zeph once said, we did not leave the ANC, but actually the ANC broke from us by abandoning the program of action of 1949. These are the words, Africa, that are reminding you as the ANC member. Through walking the footsteps of Uncle Zeph Africa, we need to be honest as Keda. The first duty of a Keda is honesty. Before you can even have love for your people. You can't love anybody if you are not honest. Dishonesty in Africa does not produce Kedarship. Kedars are honest. Kedars execute a revolutionary mandate being honest. So now Africa, Uncle Zeph is telling us here that ours, Africa, is to create a new social order. How do you create a new social order? Do you create a new social order through voting? No. Being conscious that elections are not won by those who vote. Elections are won by those who are willing to be funded by capitalists to push the agenda of capitalists. Only the people who can serve settlers will win elections. As the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, you have never ever had a mandate or an objective to serve settlers. The second objective of the PAC is to overthrow white domination and all forms of exploitation in society. Meaning that Africa, you are not honest to one another. You cannot say, Africa, we are going to push socialism in parliament. That is, Africa, misleading to us. Somebody said we'll push socialism in parliament. It's misleading to Africans, Africa. Right. So Booker once said it is meet that we should speak the truth before we die. 1949. Let us speak the truth, Africa. Remember that as PAC, we only have the truth on our side. That is what separates us from the charterists. So Africa, I would like to call Africa to come and share. Please come forward.
Lion of Azania was born in September 10, 1913. And in September 1913, September 19 and 20 September 1913, after some few days before he was born, after he was born, it was when the settler colonialist, the same 1913, took 93% of our land and gave Africans as reserves only 7%, not to own, under the tribal trustship of the chiefs that were created by the colonialists. You see, those was the reserve, labor reserves, because what has happened is that our land was taken from us and we were made serfs in our own land. We were made workers in our own land. Now, who important first and foremost? Sometimes they need a workshop. They need a workshop. First and foremost, it is possible not to understand things, and it is possible not to understand society and the world unless you view them from an ideological position. Unless any materialist position in the country, there's no organization like the PAC that has used a materialist understanding of our society. Because from its Pan-Africanist manifesto, it uses dialectical materialism and historical materialism. PAC used that when it said, our problems begins from the expansion of European colonial markets. It is a materialist and historical dimension. PAC is not a Marxist organization, but this is a dialectical materialism. So, Ribuaka, the leaders, Ribuaka Mothopeng, Ribuaka Kabosobukwe, Ribuaka Bopokela, we are talking about the most advanced leaders humanity have ever seen. You see? So they understood correctly where our problem arises from. If unka what's your problem with the leadership crisis? It is never a leadership crisis. It's an ideological crisis that we are involved in. There is two-line struggle. A reactionary line and a revolutionary line that was adopted by Wosobukwe when they began the peace. And the reactionary line, cooperation and integration. There's been those two lines. And that line, it is also in the PAC. It is the line. It means that the reactionary line is in the commanding line. Hence, it is important to understand the ideological position of the PAC. Now, Ribuaka Mothopeng today, how do we commemorate Ribuaka Mothopeng? Firstly, I was excited. Home Africa wa Pasma, Haka. Marakatola mtwele mufele tshwanetse gore relukise. Re ka se bui ka batho bao ba shwile batho bao re tshwanetse re bue ka batho ba le teng. That is unscientific. When we talk about let us be like Sobukwe, unite, consolidate, defend and advance his revolutionary legacy. We are talking about their thought, their thinking thought. Sobukwe It's one of the hard work Sobukweism, Marxism, because Sobukwe thought are the guiding thought of the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania. It has adopted the speeches Sobukwe to become the guiding thought of the PAC. So what remains is those guiding thoughts when a son of the soil. We are not saying we are following them physically. We are following their thoughts. They are revolutionary thoughts. And their revolutionary thoughts, kids are analyze it saying problems are people from the expansionary European colonial market, which led for Africa into the Africans in the slave trade, for Africa in the divided, for Africa Africa are losing their own land. That is the Pan-Africanist manifesto that says so. Black violence. Anybody beats out who killed the third force. Mothopeng said, analyze the society. Peace amongst the Africans and war against the enemy. So he instructed who is your enemy and who is your friend. He instructed us to go to hostels. Go back and solve. Those are the African people. Go and tell them. PAC says peace amongst the Africans and war against the enemy. And then we said, man, Africa, man, we're not even pimp, getting pimp. This is a system, it's getting pimp. What are the signs of revolution? Mothopeng, getting lessons that we learn. Mothopeng, Africa, cut the hand that feeds the puppet, and there won't be puppets. When you kill the Mpimpi's tail, enemy will always create another puppet. Understand that cut or kill the puppeteer, there won't be puppets. Moving from a scientific understanding here, so we have Hamutau Shapaka Paf, or Shapa Paf, the Shambok. You won't hit the Shambok. You will hit the person who wields the Shambok. So it goes with the same. Then, Baba fence-sitters. Africa, there cannot be any fence-sitters. If you are standing on the fence, how will you get your balls cut off? There's no fence-sitters. Choose the side all the time. So it was the kind of a leader hostel. Monoli tata batho ba etsa ha se le kena le kentse ntho tsena ba re oh no la ba le nkanyetse se ka mthombe to ba kgone hore accommodate the rest is history. So ke bua ka the signs of revolution or the lesson learned from these great leaders. The basic principle of the PAC is democratic centralism. We understood this from practice, from Mothopeng. We embrace it. Because if we understand, Mothopeng was among the greatest thinkers and the constitutionalists. The very constitution that Buanga PAC in 1959 was written by Mothopeng. You see, now, the basic principle here, democratic centralism. June wrote a letter to Mothopeng, go invite PAC, go the electioning, go the electioning. Mothopeng guided by the principle of democratic centralism. Any scene are going around to be Manhattan, it's a mile away. Real negotiation. Mothopeng slipped. I don't know. I'm going to give this to the masses. And before I can do anything else from the enemy side, I must take it and let the members discuss this. Because I'm just, as the leader, I'm representing. Leadership is a task. It's not to direct how you lead. So, who the branches are right. The branches of the PAC are through with this, to hell with this. Now, take it to the Azanian masses. Because the PAC is the Azanian masses and the Azanian masses are PAC. I can't let her all over the masses, the Azanian masses. So, how can he take these letters at the because he knew the principle of democratic centralism. You see? So these are the lessons that we learned. The main speaker of the day, I'll just talk about our experience. Zephania Mothopeng. Mothopeng gave us 4 ways. He let the masses understand negotiations. First, he said, there's no one who can negotiate himself out of power. There's no one who can negotiate himself out of power. However, now, how the negotiation operates. There are negotiations in secret, and when there are negotiations in secret, and the country valley, there are negotiation in secret. Mandela in prison, and the answer to there are negotiations in secret. Those in prison, Mandela Gamunam, Armand, you must understand one thing. A prisoner is never free to negotiate freely with his enemy. And revolution is not in prison. Revolution is outside. That was Mothopeng. Now, the enemy will always disagreements. So understand how election operates. Now, he went to Harare AU meeting. Mugabe, I'm invited, no. I've called Mandela. Mothopeng, I want you to meet Mandela here. You must negotiate, you must talk with Mandela to form a united front. Mothopeng, Mugabe will not speak to Mandela. Mandela stays in Azania. If he wants to talk to me, he must talk to me in Azania. This was the character, the character Mothopeng. As the Pan-Africanist Manifesto, as the ideological tool, a reflector on where must we go and what we must do and how we must build the PAC as a revolutionary organization. It has all those and all the problems of Africa. The PAC has all those in the Pan-Africanist Manifesto. Even in the disciplinary code, in the habits that the members, how members should behave, in the oath of allegiance. It's our motto, PAC motto. Hence our oath of allegiance. In my life of honor, I solemnly pledge with our lives. So the leadership of the PAC means service, suffering and sacrifice for the Azanian masses. So the PAC has got all the solution, you see, for the problem. But of course the problem is in 1990, when the PAC abandoned, or when the reactionary line, validly excused by there, but reactionary line took over and directed. If Africa is understanding the enemy, because we have said the enemy throughout the continent, he uses a project wizard. Project wizard from America through CIA and kill all the leaders, the advanced leaders. 2, Project Venom, poison all the leaders who are problematic to the cause against the cause their imperialism. Hence, more in our country, we know Sneyman Commission. Let's go back, go to Sneyman Commission, which said the PAC is a cancer that must be exterminated out of the South African national life. Because the PAC wants to take what the white man has taken for more than 300 years, which is the land and its resources. So this one is a dangerous organization, because PAC understand that politics is not a matter of person's color, but it's of the material interest. Because the material interest brought the European here. It's not their color or because really dark. They wanted the material resources of our country. So PAC understood that clearly. But in 1990, that position was betrayed. Whether Africa are that Snyman Commission worked. We incorporated others into this program, and there is a program here because overthrow of white domination. Now, if you understand the handle more linked, I can tell you 1910, the Union of South Africa have formalized a settler colonial state. 1910. 1948, they consolidated it. South Africa became new again. 1961, they moved away from British dominion. They regarded this, the Republic of South Africa, May 31st, 1961, a republic, a settler republic. And it continued. 1983, Kenya, the so-called colored camera. 1994, African Hungary. And 1993, if you understand very well, there was an through Codesa, there was an interim constitution. And that interim constitution was passed by de Klerk's parliament. 1994, the election. So settler colonialism was never overthrown. We continue until today because Azania is not born yet. Because Azania is a contrast of South Africa. Azania is a contrast of South Africa. And Azania is not only the name. It is the determination of the African people to liberate themselves, but have a self-determination. We did not get independence in 1994.
Around the battle cry, around the student uprising. In fact, I am not here to claim June 16, but to proclaim all the circumstances that led to what June 16. There indeed was accused number one in my case. The case revolved around himself. The case revolved about in fact, I would say, if, for instance, the people, African people are legal people, it was essentially circumstantial among other things. Then, maybe let me put it this way. over and above the fact that now meetings were held in my house, some of the meetings that is addressed them. In some of those things it is said that it is those meetings that hatched June 16. And myself, I addressed students at the University of Durban, university students, at capacity. I addressed students and teachers at Usubatelahan. I addressed, in fact, I was supposed to have addressed teachers for Maurice Isaacson, because Zev sent me to Maurice Isaacson considering the fact that Matabete was a PAC person. So readily he will allow me to address the students and teachers. But he said to me that it is going to be difficult to allow me because already they know who I am, even though we're using the code. I'm trying to assist students, making them understand their circumstances, alcohol, drugs, and so on and so on. And Matabate said, no, I cannot do that. Because they know who I am and who it is that we were advancing the cause of the Africanist Congress of Azania using the government platform. That is how he did it. But he directed me to you, some of the people that I have to meet. He directed me to Naledi High. Naledi High, it was the same. I was hard, from addressing students and teachers. All they said was that now, we will give you individual. In fact, a third of the people who were in that case, the accused in the case, were from the West Bank, from where I come from. In fact, it is where most of the meetings were held. Both in churches, the churches allowed me to address the youth in churches. So now, basically, in fact, it has come from the frontier that we have a task before us, and a heavy task which we have to discharge who are assembled here. And I must say, not because I see it, but it is good that we invite people like Comrade Peku, who I know very well, who I have spoken to him as who we have discussed a number of things over the phone, and which was dangerous because every call you make, it was recorded. Zev, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just saying I am the snippets. It is not everything. Zev indeed was somebody who was very principled. Very principled. But in some of those meetings, we were in those meetings, and I can tell you it was meetings. The Lion of Azania, raw, now to address the court. But with Zeph, he said this. Zeph, I am going to speak. I'm trying to tell you about his nature. The judge said, no. Who do the protestation? I see about that is how resolute the person of the speech as Zev, the second president of the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania. In fact, when you look at the nature of the case itself, you begin to understand why, in fact, the PAC, as the PAC, it is one of those organizations that had to be eliminated for Africa, everything, it was in secret. The trial was removed away from here, the Transvaal at the time, Yeshua. Bethel, a court was specially established to address the issue of PAC, in particular as led by the Lion of Azania, Comrade Zephania Mothopeng. Indeed, the Lion of Azania. Indeed, a person who wants to talk about the Lion of Azania at the time the youth went on a frenzy. They went on a frenzy, he knows, and others. He was somebody who could be very difficult, and indeed he was very difficult. You see, I attended most meetings in Azania there, and I can tell you it was as though I was not there, because I was doing the listening. Lady Africa Amakel, that case itself tells you that you as the PAC, you are faced with a formidable task. You are faced with a task that you must be prepared to go in. When you go into it, you must know that you already have attracted to yourself challenges that are far beyond yourself as an individual. Minimum of 4 people died in our case in the hands of the security police, where they had invited the worst type of brutes to interrogate us about PAC. PAC, it is not so much about the great numbers that we want to. It is the quality of those people who understand what they are getting into and what PAC is. That is why, in fact, they exercise maximum brutality. I'm talking about maximum brutality. Everybody, she's correctly pointed out that now we had women who were detained with us in Pietermaritzburg. She has never recovered, and one of the most intelligent Africanist woman ever, the Brahma Chob. A social worker by training. She's confused. She never recovered. And obviously, Zeph, the president of this organization, when I met him for the first time, not knowing Ocho, Lene was out of his mind. He hardly recognized I was with him in Pietermaritzburg. Where they changed a school, they converted a school into torture chambers. Torture chambers. Why? It was safe. Why? It was the PAC. So, you've got a task before you. If, and I know the youth, they can be emotional. But the youth have got to be, it needs people like w.e.b. It needs people now who sometimes not cooling you down, but understanding that now you may delay yourself into attracting people to yourself, to work against you, among other things. There was every reason why they were as brutal as they are on us, all of us. That some of us are today alive to be able to give you this narration. It is a miracle of all times. To be able to tell you far more than this. I know many people are critical of the book that was written. Indeed, where are the PAC to write their own narratives? You see, that book, the person who was behind it was ANC, but he was part of June class of 76. He's a judge, this boy. You see, so now how come I love book? Because who having a piper calls the tune or something like that. They remove everything that could point directly into the PAC and turned it into an academic exercise. We've got the Bella on it because now I have our own people who are saying that now the book does not go far enough, it does not move, which is true. But then where are the intellectuals of PAC to write their own narratives? In fact, the same thing that nearly happened when we went to address the students at the University of Durban. With my wife, with the children also in detention, and some of the students. Under mysterious circumstances, everything, you can't go to the licensing, where is the number plate? Who is the person already requesting up to now? Why? It answers the question that you said. That all those people who are there to upset the agenda of the African people's struggle for the overthrow of white domination, capitalism in all its forms, they should be eliminated. Zeph was very resolute. You see, Zeph, indeed, he was that Lion of Azania. It was that lion who, in fact, he has already taken a decision. That was it. I went with him in Botswana, to Botswana, when the Papa was detained. It is quite true. He was not going to negotiate his release. He said, I don't remember whether it was Seretse, when he was still in the army, or who the person is that people, but very senior people. Owner was on transit to South Africa. You see, so he does not deserve as a freedom fighter to be locked up in prison. Botswana is part of OAU. The PAC or the Azanian People's Liberation Army is not in any way exposing itself to attack by South Africa. But they are paid. They understand it will be dangerous. It will be exposing a country as not the army that one can talk of. Is a front line state, a obstructor the quest of liberation, liberating the entire continent and uniting it to its fullest potential, the United States of Africa. And we negotiated also. Let us state it is he was opening the invitation and he was not part of this meeting. And it is a bad example we found. The whole Zimbabwe, South Africa. Our ZANU marched into Harare. Rona, we are being asked to leave our weapons, in fact to disarm. Yes. Look, Bahana, or they must commit their security forces to the barracks. There is no prisoner, because we are prisoners there. We're making weapons. What are they? Own weapons. This is for close combat, bombs, and all those things. After all, how long, how do you think we could have challenged the enemy? You see, when one of them read the goal and they just in conclusion, okay, the last in conclusion. In conclusion, one of them, PK for me. Get out of me. Are the weapon declared all over?
We have to think about it in the current context of what's happening in the now, right? And we have to think and learn from our elders about how they took the struggle and how they navigated that space, and take the lessons that they have learned to the now. And you know, Fees Must Fall was a huge thing, but then as Fees Must Fall came about, the PAC was there, Basma was there, but we did not, it almost felt like the EFF was taking everything from us, right? The ideas of the PAC were very, very, very relevant within the Police movement, within Fees Must Fall, but then there was a lack of, you know, support from the students supporting Basma. The students just take the EFF as, you know, the Pan-Africanist party, political party. And I mean, we can't necessarily blame them because we haven't done the work on the ground, right? We haven't, it almost feels like whenever we gather together we speak, but then there is no action that results from that. And so it becomes important then for us to actually rebuild it into order and introspect ourselves as far as the role in which we have to play in the young people's lives, in the young black people in this country. And also taking part in how we actually want to move this program to Azania, and how that Azania, and imagining how that Azania even looks like, being the former president of the PAC, and the work that he continues to do in terms of writing, and actually put a different narrative out there that we can engage with, and that we can, you know, sometimes critique as young people, because we also have our own ideas, right? And we also have our own understanding of the society today that is somewhat can be very different, somewhat different, not very, but somewhat different to the elders of the PAC and just the elders in general's ideas of the society. And so that PEC becomes important in really for us learning what it looks like to be an upright man who continues even post his presidency, who continues to involve himself in the work and the lives of the people, and immerse his ideas in the community. And so, like, I think it will be an injustice to not thank you, Ndade, for the work that you have done. And thank you also, Ndade, Mike, for such important work that you guys continue to do. I don't think I want to forget you. For the contribution that you guys continue and still did, you know. I will allow Ndade to...
There would never have been an armed struggle. There would never have been a Nobel Prize for Chief John Albert Luthuli. We would never have been to the United Nations and recognized there as members. Some PAC members do not even know that it is the PAC that got South Africa expelled from the United Nations. And South Africa had been there since 1945. You know, this shows us, or this shows what the PAC can do and has done when it is united. But certainly, there's not much PAC can do when it is a fragmentation. I met Uncle Zeph soon after he was elected to the National Executive Council of the Pan-Africanist Congress in April 1959. I was a journalist writing for a paper called Our Africa in this country. I met him for the second time in 1962. I met him for the second time in 1962. This time I had moved from being a PAC sympathizer to a member and elected underground cell chairman at Dobsonville after the colonial barbarism committed in Sharpeville by the forces of darkness. I could not be neutral. Uncle Zeph visited us at night with Tennyson Makiwane, Mayeki Sorada, of the regional chairman, who was the regional chairman of Johannesburg. He had come to find the state of readiness regarding collection of weapons. The third time Uncle Zeph contacted me, I was outside the country and had written a book, Apartheid, the story of a dispossessed people. This book. It was written under a pseudonym of a woman, Ethel Hoku. He instructed and ordered that I should use my own name for this book. And indeed, I eventually wrote this book. It was published in London. I was in Zambia, that was in 1972. 12 years later, in 1984, as I pointed out, I published that book. Many Ablakadas can confirm that Chairman John Nyati Pokela prescribed or subscribed that this book, prescribed this book for them in their camps. I must say that, as I have already indicated, as a result of the Berlin Conference General Act, February 1885, and this is something that we have really to understand, because we have not understood it, and for as long as we don't understand this, we will continue to deal with the symptoms of a disease instead of the disease itself. As a result of the Berlin Conference, General Conference, this country was taken from the African owners through military terrorism. That is a gunpoint. When the spears of our kings surrendered to the guns of colonial invaders. They had in 1913 seized 93% of the country and allocated us only 7% of the land. And the people who received this 93% of the land numbered 349,837. The African people who were then over 5 million were allocated 7%. On the 12th of January 1912, Dr. Pixley Issa Kaseme and the other African intellectuals formed the South African National Congress, Native National Congress. That was on the 20th of July. On the 20th of July, on the 20th of July 1914, they presented a petition to King George V, demanding that they be put in possession of land in proportion to population numbers. After the present ANC abandoned the policy of land repossession in 1955 from those of the 8th of January 1912 and falsely claimed this country belongs to all who live in it, even though the colonizers had never decolonized it. Mongaliso Sobukwe, Zephania Mothopeng, Utlako Leballo, Lelpingendani, and many others formed the Pan-Africanist Congress. The slogan of the South African Native National Congress, which changed its own name to ANC in 1923, was Mayibuye i-Afrika. The slogan of the PAC, as you know, is Israel, Africa. The truth of the matter is that there is no nation that can have true liberation without repossession of its land and its riches. Amandla is an empty slogan. It was a cheating slogan to hide the colonial nature of the struggle in this country. The African petition was presented to King George V for land repossession by these 5 African 1912 ANC leaders. I hope that you understand that they are very different. This ANC I'm talking about, the 1912 ANC is different from the 1955, which adopted so-called freedom charter. The gentlemen here, I must mention them: Stoli Plaji, John Dube, Walter Khubusana, Thomas Mapigela, Samuel Musane, and now Zephania Mothopeng has described the Freedom Charter of the 1955 ANC as a notorious document of unknown origin. How true is this? Some whites in South Africa who have been named as writers of the Freedom Charter for colonially land dispossessed people. They are Rusty Bernstein, Joe Slovo, Ben Turo, Ada Calderich, Ruth Fest, and Peter Bielefeld. Slovo later became the chief commander of the ANC military wing, Umkhonto weSizwe, for many years. This was until it was handed over to Kizani much later. Slovo is reputed to have also been responsible for the sunset clause in the Constitution of South Africa. This has still left African land dispossession intact, literally legalized colonial land dispossession of the African people, according to Section 25 of the Constitution. Joe Slovo, a comrade of Ben Turo, was a lawyer. He held the colonial view that South Africa was a state in international law. In his book, The Road to South Africa, Freedom 1962, he has written, South Africa is not a colony, but an independent state. Can colonialists and colonialists and neo-colonialists be land dispossessors of Africans and their liberators at the same time? Now, I'm going to deal here with the ANC Freedom Charter bought for over 1 million rand. On the 26th of March, 2010, Lord Lenwick, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher's ambassador to South Africa, bought a copy of the original copy of the ANC Freedom Charter of the ANC for 60,000 British pounds. On 12 October 2018, this was worth 1,100,045,000 rand in South African currency. They have been reported as saying that this was to prevent the document going under hammer at an auction in London. They have revealed also that they wanted the Freedom Charter to be available for the benefit of all South Africans. This was done by people whose country colonized Africans in this country and never decolonized it. South Africa is the only country in the continent of Africa that Britain never decolonized. Instead, all attempts were made to make it a white man's country. On the 7th of May 2010, the original signed copy of the Freedom Charter was handed to the ANC government by Leslie Trust in Johannesburg as a property of the nation. History, however, shows that the property that was seized from Africans through colonial terrorism at gunpoint was not a piece of paper called Freedom Charter, but our motherland, Azania, with all her riches from the children. Now, I'm coming here to something that has already been mentioned. The Supreme Court judge verdict reminds of PAC gold. This is where this man was. This is in the Supreme Court. I'm hoping that you are listening. I know I'm not very coherent. But I want to say to you that unless you can distinguish between symptoms and disease, we are never going to solve this problem. What went wrong here is what went wrong in Berlin when the land was taken as it was. When the land was taken. But I'm coming to the Supreme Court judge here, verdict, where Gauteng being appeared with all the comrades there. Reporting the Supreme Court case on the Soweto uprising on the 1st of July, 1979. Sunday Times newspaper in Johannesburg said, and I quote, South Africa's biggest triumph and one of the longest in the country's judicial history wound up this week when the Pan-Africanist Congress supporters were jailed for underground activities. They were sentenced to a total of 162 years imprisonment. The statistics of the trial have set their records. It has taken 165 sitting days, 5,200 pages of evidence and arguments considered. 86 co-conspirators were involved. The entire trial, including the Marathon 21 judgment, was held in Cameroon. Passing sentence on the PAC organizers of the Soweto uprising, among other things, Judge Lewis of the Supreme Court of South Africa said, "You, Mothopeng, acted to sow seeds of revolution. The riots you organized and predicted eventually took place in Soweto on 16 June, that was of course 1976, and at Kagiso the next day. Zephania Mothopeng was accused, number one, and sentenced to 30 years imprisonment despite his old age of 66 years. Judge Lewis said something else that no one must forget about the Pan-Africanism. Both enemy and friend. He concluded the Supreme Court judge. He concluded, and then the last thing that I would like to mention is that Pan-Africanism is the goal of the Pan-Africanist Congress. During the formation of the Pan-Africanist Congress, the 4th to the 6th of April 1959, Zephania Mothopeng acted as chairman and was later elected to the National Executive Council of the PAC. By the way, Uncle Zeph was also a musician. In his music, it can be seen that he believed in the ideology of Pan-Africanism. He composed this song, Unite, unite, all you Africans unite, and rally to the banner of the African nation. Unite, unite, all you Africans unite. Crush to crush imperialism in all its forms. Project, promote African personality. Create one gigantic monolithic state of Africa. Socialistic in content, democratic in form, a new social order, original in conception, Africanistic in orientation. I wish I could sing. Unite, unite,
all ye Africans unite. Oh,
unite, unite, all the Africans unite, and rally to the banner of the African nation. Unite, unite, all the Africans unite, to crush imperialism in all its forms. Anyway, I have drawn your attention that the book is there, the song is there. I think it is very important that we popularize that book. I've written a lot of books now. I'm sorry to say this, but I've written a lot of books. Literally a lot of books. I don't know that there's any book you can find. You can find a book about how the PAC expelled South Africa from the United Nations. You can find a lot of things. You can find why the freedom chapter is wrong. We should move from being members to being brothers. To be able to preach. You can't defend what you don't understand. You need to understand. And then you move from just merely being a member. And the politics of today are so very difficult because people want to be councillors. And you want to be members of parliament.
He came here because he knows that we are the forefront of this unity. So we are very, very honored, my friend. And then, Kilewa Hulu, Ntate Mike Matsubani, Mafrika library, a big library, a hulu. And I recently saying, my friend, it's an opportunity for us to learn. What is important, my friend, as much as we learn, what matters most is what we do with what we've learned. I want to repeat this. It's what we do, what we have learned. The basic document of the PAC is very clear. Constitution of the PAC is very clear. The theory of the PAC is very clear, my friend. You can know as much as you know, but what matters most it's what you do with what you need. And I'm hoping, my friend, that we change our attitudes. We change our attitudes towards this because PAC remains a revolutionary movement. We want to be VIPs in this struggle. But I want VIP celebrity like others. No, my friend. I told you the facts. And there's only one way. There's only one organization. That is the peace. But we can only get that through our actions, not by shouting slogans. Our actions in the leadership of this province can speak for itself. When we came in, we have decided not to talk too much, not to be VIPs. Plan with everybody, work with everybody, implement everything with everybody. And when we call a meeting, we don't call a meeting to just say people, let's sit down and talk and make things nice. Everything we say, it becomes an action. It becomes an action. And if you don't know that, then unfortunately, it where we present what we have done. It is for that reason, this leadership. If next year, today we could have not been in the Unity Conference. It was because Unity Johannesburg, ya spreader, ya Gauteng as a province. It was us who made sure that these leaders, starting from Shabvi, but we united. After that, it is because of that. So everything we do, we don't do it for fun. Key action. How Unity, my friend, we practice it. We therefore say, those who do not participate, my friend, participate. Our meetings, it's inclusive to anyone, irrespective of the position that you are having. Hurry up, Africa, go congressing. Hurry go congressing. Tamile go fail. How can Tamile go fail? And I'm happy to say, unfortunately, Africa Fusakona Hubateng is represented in terms of the preparatory committee ya Congress. Natamela Fed status sa the readiness ya Gauteng. Gauteng, it is 70% rate than any other province. Nationally, we are #1 in terms of the preparation of this Congress, my friend.
Viva! soboyana
Amakerela
ayotele zintaba thina soboyana
Amakerela
ayotele zintaba thina soboyana awusamelo kapama awusamelo kapama awuthethe yabuka bethina sobuyana ay morra ay discipline